Good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to thank CFAL for allowing Colina to partner with them once more on this conference. The organizing team for this conference has done an amazing job. The venue looks spectacular. The sessions are beautiful. So fantastic job, guys. And Colina is very proud to be here. And I'm going to speak very briefly, so I'm going to get right to the point. I was very interested in Dr. Ramphal's presentation earlier today. He's talking about health. He's talking about some serious issues. And I found myself experiencing some discomfort as he spoke. Because, he's talking about some very real things. And, all of us, in particular when you reach, when the beard is more gray than black, you're very conscious about your health. And it's a bit of a struggle. And it's sometimes uncomfortable thinking about it. And I'm here to talk about an even more uncomfortable thing. And that is our mortality. And you see how the room got quiet immediately, right? And it's our feelings about these things are quite sensible and appropriate. When someone says something, like when Dr. Ramphal was speaking earlier, it's not that he made me feel uncomfortable. I was feeling uncomfortable. I own that, right? And we often get that same feeling when we're thinking about our mortality. And we all know at some point in time, we're all going to die. We know that. And there's no need necessarily for us to fear that or feel uncomfortable about that. But our society and culture causes us to have some negative feelings about what we understand to be a biological certainty. And in part, I want to invite you today to shed that. Because, discomfort about things sometimes causes you to avoid planning for it. Some people have the same feeling when they're thinking about retirement. Retirement, ill health, death. These are all, hopefully, realities. But that feeling of discomfort sometimes causes some negative behaviors. It makes no sense to try to avoid something that is unavoidable. We will all pass from this earth eventually, and we owe it to ourselves, and more importantly, to those who depend on us, to have sensible plans for its inevitability. I made a commitment to myself earlier this year, and I shared it with the entire Colina staff in January, that I wanted to encourage more people to talk and plan for their death. There have been too many people in my lives, because I operate in all sorts of different spheres, and a lot of times people don't know I work for Colina and I'm in life insurance, right? But I know I've been involved in too many situations where people's family ended up in serious financial difficulties because of the passing of someone that they depended on. It's real. And in fact, in my family, my wife very much experienced it. Her mother passed. She had a single mother, 3 girls. She was the middle child, is the middle child. And her mother passed when she was at university. The 2 big kids were in university, and the younger one was in high school. And it created a tremendous amount of stress for them. And it's quite understandable. But it's also avoidable. Now, after the fact, obviously, it's too late. But while we're here, we always have a chance. We always have opportunities to make sure that we've put in place a financial plan that caters for the uncertainty that we know life to be. And that avoidance that I started my brief talk discussing is one of those roadblocks that prevents us from having a sensible plan. And if I can make a difference in the life of even one person in this room today. Because all of you all know about insurance and what insurance is. So I don't feel I necessarily need to speak to you about how you get insurance and why you ought to get insurance. But if you have a family or a business who depends on you, you need to have a sensible plan for what happens to them if you are no longer there. Because after all, insurance is not for the dead. It is for the living. And in a way, it's an act of generosity, an act of caring, an act of responsibility to organize your affairs so that if something were to happen to you, that they have a little cushion to make it through. Money can never replace you. You are irreplaceable. But the financial resources that you bring to your family can be replaced with insurance. And like I said, that discomfort that we feel, while it's very natural, it causes us to make bad decisions. So I really love his speech. I hope what we took away from Dr. Ramphil's speech is that there are things that we can do to affect our health. And what I would like you to take away from my brief talk this morning is that there are things you can do to protect the ones around you. And it is an act of responsibility and generosity to ensure that you have a decent plan. Now, as I walked around the audience during the break, I saw lots of Colina's insurance agents around. So this is really a good time to get an epiphany. And if you need any advice as to how to you're hearing them. So if you need any advice, it is a good time. And there's an old saying that the best time to do something was yesterday. The second best time is today. So if you do feel thinking about mortality, if you do feel the kind of discomfort that I felt earlier, talking about health, don't let that freeze you. Don't allow that to cause you to get in a shell and say, okay, no, I don't want to talk about it again. Think about your needs. Think about whether you're comfortable that the financial plan you have in place for your loved ones is sensible and sufficient. And if it isn't, do something about it. And do something about it at a time when you have the good enough health that you can get it done. Because tomorrow is too late. One of the things Dr. Martin Luther King said in his quest for civil rights was, tomorrow is today. And I love that sentiment. It speaks to urgency. That's the same speech I believe he spoke about, the fierce urgency of now. There's certain things that you can't put off, but there's certain things that you shouldn't. So I don't want to leave on too much of a down note, because I have spoken about a difficult topic. But instead of thinking about the challenge that mortality has on those you love, think about the care you can extend to them by making sure there's a decent financial plan for them. Thank you again, CFAL, and thank you for your attention today.